I love this topic. I think we can hammer through a lot of this right off the bat.
Yeah. So we have, again, labeled as making your first 10 grand. And the reason we did this is I think a lot of people have asked us just kind of how to get together their first down payment. And that's becoming a lot more relevant as prices continue to increase. And you'll find sometimes linear saving isn't necessarily the way to do it because you can't necessarily keep up with how quickly inflation's taking place.
No.
How appreciation on the asset that you're trying to acquire, whether it be starting a business or buying a house, is growing. So, I mean, yeah, with that being said, the first line item that we have on here, which I just already knocked, was saving from your current income. So obviously you can save whatever you can if you're already making more than what you're spending. But then additionally, it's reviewing your expenses. This is something that I think is so important and it's so easy to let get out of hand. With just like, especially nowadays, everything is a subscription service. So every single thing is subscribed to this. Even like TV now, used to be, okay, you just subscribe to Netflix, but now everyone's got one. Like it's Amazon, Netflix, Disney, HBO, like everyone's got one. So sometimes it's worth thinking, okay, hold the phone here. Like I find a lot of people don't use Netflix as much sometimes as they used to because there's all the other ones that they have their preferred show on.
And we got Prime the other day. It's like, see you later, Netflix.
This is the thing. So maybe you go, oh, you know what? I watched one movie on there and I've paid for 3 months. So I paid $30. I could have just rented that movie for $2.99 or $5.99, whatever it was. Yeah. So there's items like that. The other thing that I think, like this is one that I say is important that I see a lot is like packing a lunch, and cooking at home. Those ones can add up so fast. Like you don't realize until you I think if you add up all your restaurant expenditures at the end of the month, that one gets out of hand so quick. And I know the packing a lunch one can be tough because a lot of times you don't necessarily get it done in the evening, and then in the morning you're maybe in a bit of a rush to get to work, so you don't get an opportunity to do so. But packing a lunch and making a coffee at home, like those couple things can save you $5-6 a day, which isn't huge, but that's a couple $100 a month.
Can I backtrack for a second?
Yeah.
Because I'm worried some people are going to listen to this and be like, these are just like, oh, pack a lunch and like all these. I think what we're saying is do a deep audit of your monthly expenses. Yeah. And I had this thing sort of because we talked about this before, like, gosh, what would you do for your first $1,000? What would you do if you could only had this much money?
Yep.
The first thing is to understand why.
Yeah.
Like, why am I struggling to reach $10,000?
True.
Right? You need to audit that. And that means, we're really fortunate because you can everyone pays with credit now. Yeah. Right. So I've been in this situation. We talked about, the early days grinding, starting out.
Yep.
Man, we're very fortunate now. It's been good for a few years now.
Yep.
The early days, man, between having all these properties and mortgages and expenses and renovations, like you were moving money around just to stay afloat.
Yeah.
And there were routine times where I would go through and audit my monthly expenses and be like, oh my gosh, I'm paying for this fax to email service still.
Yeah.
And it's $15 a month that I forgot about.
Yeah.
I subscribe to Audible at $10 a month, and I've never gotten an audiobook. Right? Like, it's so easy to click on these things and then lose track of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my Eastlink bundle expired, and I went from $99 a month to $250.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing to do is to audit your expenses because you go through there, and you have to write those numbers out. Like, oh my gosh, like I spent how much money on Skip the Dishes last month?
Yeah.
Right. Take accountability for what you're actually spending on. So audit it aggressively and figure out what changes. Like it may be a situation where, man, you need to get a roommate.
100%.
You need to change what you're doing for your commuting. You need to do things like less coffee, pack a lunch, all these things. But
your cell phone plan, call them. I bet you can get it down $30-$40
This is what I would do when I would have these situations. I would call in. I'd say, Eastlink, like, hey, I want these things included free.
Yeah.
I would call Eastlink, and it's like, oh, yeah, actually, our plans changed 6 months ago, but we never told you, but we can actually save you this. And I would hack those suckers down. But the problem is, and we talked about this before, marginal propensity to consume or spend, which means no matter what you have, you'll somehow end up with the same amount left in your bank account. Right? So what you need to do once you've shifted this, and say you shift off $300 a month, you have to pay yourself first.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to actually assign having money put away. They got apps now and different investing softwares that'll automatically pull the money out of your account.
Yep.
That's a really slick one because then at the end of the month, your money's already coming out. And you're just kind of every week it pulls $50 out.
Yeah, pull it and send it over to an account that you don't have plastic access to. An account that you have to go to the bank and take the money out.
Well, I mean, everyone's got the internet now, maybe, but yeah.
No, man, you can still get accounts that are not tied to your cards.
Yeah.
You smart aleck. People, because what you will find is once you've paid yourself first, you budget the rest off of that. It's amazing how that works. You've got to pay yourself first. After you audit, cut back things, then pay yourself first.
You should be checking your statements every month too, because the other thing that I'm seeing that's crazy is fraud. The amount of like just getting slipped in there, like 1 or 2 transactions that you're like, wait a second.
Man, every time I go to the bank, because I still bank at the teller. I love banking at the teller. There's always like this little old lady in front of me being like, I got charged twice for this thing and I don't even know what it is. And they're there like, I can't help you. And she's like, I called them and they said to talk to you. And I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm here like 20 minutes trying to get a bank draft. But it's legit. Like you look in there, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm
very, very common, especially in some of the times it's an accident. Like like a lot of electronic online payments, even if you accidentally click like review and pay twice on like a website that you're checking out on, it'll literally sometimes run the transaction twice. So there's that aspect. And then the fraud thing, I cannot believe how many people I've heard or I've had it happen to me a few times now where I'm just getting like a random order for $300 a pizza in Ontario. And it's, I don't know, I must have put it in on a form on some website online.
Like, how drunk was I last night? Did I go to Ontario?
Literally, I debated for a second and I'm like, but in all seriousness, so checking, like you said, doing a deep audit is extremely important to be able to figure out what you're spending on your monthlies, even on your annuals, reviewing any of the monthly plans that you're on that you really require. There's probably a good option to make a switch to bring it down in price because they're all designed like phone plans. You're paying $99.99 and it includes a phone. When your renewal comes, they don't drop the price, and you're still using your old phone.
Yeah,
exactly. So there's so much stuff like that.
The problem is once you get rid of those expenses,
put that money away.
You got to put it away because otherwise people are like, I did all these things and I still don't have any more money. It's because you spent it. If you have it, you will spend it.
Yeah.
So you need to then pay yourself first. The problem is, say that goes great. What are you saving? $500 a month, right?
That's $6,000.
It's $6,000 in the course of a year.
Yeah.
Right. How can we expedite that? That's cutting expenses.
Yeah.
Right. And setting up a pay yourself thing. Right. Maybe you're now going to pay $500 into yourself.
I'm a big person on this now. Like you're about to say now. So you've made the savings, but you got to increase the income.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm so big on that. Like you can spend all the time trying to cut down your savings. It can kind of become a vicious cycle too, to the point where you start not necessarily being able to enjoy what you're doing, and it becomes stressful where you literally can't even go out and enjoy yourself because you're so hell bent on saving. So then this is the next thing where you need to start looking at options to increase your income. And I think again, same thing. Starting small is really important with what you're doing, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I need to do something like kind of big, or like, oh, it's not worth doing that. And so I don't know. I have a ton of different little ideas that I've written down on options on what you can do, but it's kind of understanding where your free time lies. And I think if you have an interest in something that you're going to do, it makes it a lot easier. But it doesn't need to be massive. Again, everyone thinks like, okay, I need to make $3,000 a month. Start with something small. If you're making a couple $100 a month and you're saving a couple $100 a month, okay, now you're adding $500 on and you're saving $500, $1,000. You got $12,000 in a year. Yeah. Plus whatever you could originally be able to save. Yeah. Good chance you might be able to put together a down payment within your first 12 to 18 months. Thanks for watching that clip from the Master Keys podcast. Check out that full episode here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share our podcast.
When I was broke, I had rich habits. When I was broke, I had rich habits.